Hello and welcome into this week's edition of The Rundown with Caleb and Casey. Joining you on a Tuesday afternoon, right in the middle of the frenzy that is conference tournament season in college basketball. It's the second most wonderful time of the year before the actual dance begins next week. And Casey, checking in, man. How are we?
We are fantastic. Sorry, writing down my 3 for 3. We're fantastic.
It's all right.
We're
Important stuff.
watching basketball. We're having fun. Golf, the Players Championships this
True.
week as well. And then we got Selection Sunday right after that. I mean, this is the best time of the year. You know, we've got 4 full weeks, 4.5 weeks of perfection, if you will.
It's really going to be sad when the March of Madness theme rolls and the CBS show begins and Greg Gumbel isn't the guy who's doing it.
Yeah.
I think we talked about him a couple weeks ago, but
They
rest in peace
announced
to that guy.
their broadcast team for the tournament, if you haven't seen it. Ian Eagle is taking over for Jim Nance as the head play-by-play.
Is he
guy.
really?
Yep.
Okay.
Nance focusing on
That's
his
right. Last year was
new
his
deal.
final
Yeah.
four. Yeah. Forgot
It's
about that.
new deal. He only wants to do golf and football, focus on those, which fair. It's going to hurt. I do think Ian Eagle's fantastic. So it's Eagle, Rafferty, Hill, Tracy Wolfson. So the same four that it's been. Just toss Ian Eagle in there. Harlan, Bonner, Van Gundy, and Lauren Shehadi will do up to the final four. And there's some other good guys. Our guy John Rothstein will get the first four and the second round as well.
Okay. Just doing sideline stuff, I imagine.
Yeah. And Brad
Sweet.
Nessler is going to get 2 rounds. I mean, a lot of great
Did
guys.
they say who's filling that Greg Gumbel spot for the studio host?
I don't
Is
think
that
anyone
part of
is.
it?
It just says the hosts are Ernie, Adam Lefko, and Adam Zucker.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just those 3. Chuck, Clark, Kenny, Jay Wright, Seth Davis,
Oh,
Wally
yeah.
Zerbiak, Candace Parker, analyst as well. So it's gonna be good, but I mean, like you were saying, there's definitely gonna be a lot missing.
Yeah, no doubt. You mentioned Kevin Harlan on the call for the Missouri Valley Championship this past weekend was already getting me just absolutely amped. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Listening to him call a game. You know, that game was obviously big for a number of reasons, but it felt like it had even more magnitude there down in St. Louis. Let's get started here. Let's talk Iowa State basketball to start. I don't feel like there's a ton to analyze from Iowa State's win against Kansas State down in Manhattan on Saturday. This Kansas State team they are checked out, right?
Yeah.
They were checked out on Saturday. It is not the same team that came to Ames and beat Iowa State back in February. This is a very different team. They've been on a roller coaster of a year. But you know what? It really went about as well as it could have gone for Iowa State because, you know, the Cyclones were able to get that revenge win down in Manhattan. They were able to really just control the game start to finish, play a complete game. Didn't have to get into a physical battle to win that one. That was kind of my other worry. We talked about it last week, Casey. How much does this game actually mean? To both of us, it didn't mean much.
No.
But the upside is, you know, you get some momentum going into the postseason now, ending the regular season with a victory. Didn't have to really, you know, like I said, it wasn't a physical battle. You know, you didn't exert too much energy winning that game. And Keshon Gilbert, we can talk more about him in a second here. You know, sat out that game. Some think it's still this muscle strain. I'm sure that's part of it. I think part of it, too, though, is just precautionary and to rest him. You know, he hasn't quite been himself lately. So to be able to rest him in that game and still win the way they did, all in all, you know, not too much to take from it. No reason to overreact to this kind of win. Again, Kansas State is bad. They're checked out. Still, to me, went about as well as it could have for the Cyclones on Saturday.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, went in there, handled business, held them to 57 points. Jones really hit his stride, 11 for 12 from the free throw as well. I think it was we were worried that they were just going to sleep. I wouldn't say worried. We were kind of aware that they could sleep through it and lose because the game didn't matter for either team, really. But luckily they didn't. They showed up. they handled business, and now, they won't have that knock on them at all when going into Selection Sunday, kind of hoping for a big push in this conference bracket and to see what happens. But really happy with this team. I think the official news was he's day to day for the tournament. So I assume it's just maybe sit round one.
Yeah.
And then other than that, let him play. But not too worried. Everything's going to work itself out. Taman's been playing fantastic, though.
Yeah, he's playing well. And so was Nate Heise. He just continues to, I mean, what an unbelievable turnaround he's had this year, both as, a player and really, within the fan base as well. It was about a month to a month and a half ago that, a lot of the fan base wanted him, not really seeing the floor at all. And part of it, rightfully so, he wasn't playing well. He was out there for his defense. He was a complete zero on offense. And even defensively, he was struggling because his confidence was so low. Now he's got, he's at the point where he's playing good basketball, and he's got this, swagger, too. Did you happen to see the technical foul called on him on Saturday?
No, I did not.
I don't know if you did. It was horrible.
Oh, yeah. Now,
he hit
now
the
I
three,
remember
turn
it.
around,
Yeah.
put up the three to Jerome Tang. I don't know.
I was thinking of something else. I forgot that was a technical.
So
Honestly. I was
unbelievably soft.
That just kind of went over my mind. I mean, I've had sixth graders do worse. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're Nate, you should probably know in the moment that in today's day and age in basketball, if you look around, anytime you're going to turn to the bench and do something, it's probably going to get called. It shouldn't be called, right? Something as simple. If he was to do the finger pistol, I think the refs thought he did, that's different. He was holding up the three, right?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know why we have to take out the competitive, chip on your shoulder aspect of basketball sometimes. But, yeah, to your point, Taman played great. Nate Heise's playing. He strung together a really good streak of games. Curtis Jones finally looked like himself again for the first time in a while, I think, on Saturday.
Didn't even shoot fantastic, but he did good enough.
That's true. He was actually pretty bad to start. I think he went 0 for 3 from three-point range in the first couple minutes and then started knocking him down.
He finished 33% from the field, 33% from three. Those free throws really got him going.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you see at the end as well the video of the guys walking through the tunnel and Keshon Gilbert's got the belt and he's just whacking his hand?
Yeah, that was
B2A.
funny. Yeah, a little BTA action. Held their multi-million-dollar player to 4 points as well on 2 of 7 shooting and 0 of 3 from three-pointers. Coleman Hawkins, hit LinkedIn, buddy. It's over. Good luck this tournament. You're one and done, and then you're not going to see March. So I'm glad they paid you, $2 million for 4 points, 9 boards, 5 turnovers, and 2 fouls.
Well, and that that program, that fan base, and I don't feel bad for them whatsoever, but they are stuck with Jerome Tang after he leveraged the quote-unquote offers to Arkansas last year leveraged those offers for a bigger buyout, bigger contract. They can't fire him right now unless they want to put themselves in, historic debt for that school. That's a really bad spot to be in. And I don't even think they have a single high school recruit for the class of 2025 or 26. Yeah.
I think
2025.
Yeah. I don't think they do.
Yeah, that's really bad. And the high school basketball season's practically over. And they don't have a single
this
2020. I'm pretty sure it's 2025. 26 wouldn't be horrible. I think they don't have a single high school guy for 2025. I don't know if you want to look that up at all.
Yeah.
Just a fact check, but yes, Kansas State will play Arizona State here in about 50 minutes or so for the third game of the day in the Big 12 tournament. Iowa State will play Cincinnati tomorrow at 11:30 Central Time. Cincinnati took care of business against Oklahoma State earlier. Not much of a surprise. Interesting game here for Iowa State and Cincinnati. I think Iowa State wins this game comfortably. We see how they do down in Kansas City. Jizzle James, absolute baller. We saw that names. He single-handedly kept his team in the game for a while. He's always prone to having a big performance. I don't think this Cincinnati team is enough, though. They've been very disappointing this year.
Yeah, without a doubt. So they had no commits until 1 week ago. They got their first commit. Now they have 2 commits.
And this is for the class of 25?
Yeah, both low 3 stars.
Wow.
So
yeah, not too much to be excited about down there in Manhattan right now.
Nope.
At the Octagon of Room.
They'll find a way to go get a big name transfer portal player and then kick him off the team. I still don't know what happened with Chor. I was really excited to watch him play basketball.
Well, him, and then they kick off Naquan Tomlin last year.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
For some reason,
well, it was the president, I think, who did that.
Yeah, for some reason, they seem to be the only team that consistently kicks off transfer portal players. So I don't know if I'm hitting the portal, if I'm tracing Eagle staff. Well, first of all, I'm not going to Kansas State considering it after I dropped 51 points and 40 against Alabama. But, I mean, if they gave me an offer and no one else...
Is that the guy from North Dakota?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hit the portal earlier this afternoon. Got the notification while I was in class.
Big time. Yeah. If you're a recruit or a guy in the transfer portal, probably don't go to Kansas State. That'd be
And you're in Manhattan, Kansas.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot good
exactly
there.
Desirable.
They've got a great food truck, I will say. That serves like late night $1 donuts. And they've got a mac and cheese grilled cheese that's like to die for. We went down there for a baseball tournament one time. That was like the highlight of the whole tournament.
Just that $1 food truck.
Dude, $1 at like 1 a.m. And they park it like right in the center of like all the bars too, because they know that's where they're gonna make money. Genius on their part, honestly.
W Manhattan. That's about all they got.
Yeah.
The architecture down there is weird. It looks like it's a bunch of like medieval fortresses. I don't know.
Probably is.
Kind of weird vibes. I don't know what they do down there. I went to the game.
The last time they won a national championship was when medieval fortresses were around.
And see, like the funny thing about that is like Kansas State didn't even exist back then. It's like that's the
and they still have no national championships.
Exactly. I went down there last year for the Iowa State game, and I think there were about like 5 or 6 ghost towns that I drove right past within probably like a 50-mile radius of man. It was scary, dude. It was weird.
I would leave if I was that.
People don't want to be there.
Manhattan as well. I wouldn't want to be there. Disgusting.
All right, so again, Iowa State, Cincinnati tomorrow at 11:30. Do you have any thoughts on this matchup at all?
No, this is just a case of doing your job. Is all it is. Cincinnati struggled a little bit against Okie State, ended up blowing them out. But I mean, at one point it was kind of back and forth. They had around a 6.8-point lead. You know, going back and forth between the two. Cincinnati pulled it out. I just don't think anything of that Oklahoma State team, but I will give them this. This is a scarier matchup than Oklahoma State because what they did do early in the season. I don't know if the wheels are falling off or something. And something else that was interesting when I was watching the game, a lot of guys like twisting ankles and stuff like that on the ground. I don't know if it's like how the court is made because it's got that funky design on it. But like, I don't know what I saw like 3 guys for Cincinnati. 2 of them went down in back-to-back possessions. One of them went down. Okie State inbounds it, goes down the court. They steal the entry pass, goes down the court to dunk it, and like the next guy rolls his ankle. I don't know what it is.
Should we talk about that court quick? It's horrible. What are we doing?
I think it's a good idea in concept, but the execution was not right because it's hard as a viewer. You know, I'm sure it's not great as a player.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's like the Roman numeral aspect. They probably could have done what they were trying to do in a much more subtle way, maybe.
Why don't we just do like what the Southland Conference does, where they just have a normal court, but they have a giant trophy, kind of like the old NBA Finals courts, and then they have the Southland Conference logo right dead center of like the basketball at the top. So it looks like the old Finals logos when we were growing up. You know how they have like the trophy behind the logo on the main court. It looked like that. I thought it was fantastic, and the baselines are black and gold. I thought it was awesome.
What was the mid-major conference that had the giant can of Barbasol just like sitting on this? Did you see that at all? Just a massive can.
I did, but
I think whatever tournament it was
they all
presented by.
Together.
I have no. It was a mid-major conference tournaments are elite and
awesome, dude.
You know, if anybody is not paying attention right now, don't come back when it's the actual NCAA tournament. This is great basketball right here, and yeah, super underrated. Some of these conference tournaments are. But yeah, I agree. I don't worry too much about this. I kind of want to get your take on this, Casey, because there's kind of the argument sometimes of like, you know, how much does a conference tournament championship benefit you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. It's not as big of a deal as a regular season championship, or obviously what you do in March Madness. So sometimes the argument is lose early, get rest, and be healthy. I can understand where people are coming from here. I think I'm on the side though of, man, you know, momentum is such a big deal. I would rather have momentum and be a little bit tired than rest and have no momentum going into March Madness. And I feel like, you know, for Iowa State specifically, Kansas City is a perfect spot to do that.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the other thing is, you know, if you do lose early and whatever, your guys aren't really playing live and stuff like that. And a lot of times to get that momentum, like you say, and to kind of get a feel for the things and really get high, you need to be playing live in games.
Yeah.
Like practices,
Yeah,
scrimmages.
you know this. You're a coach.
Yeah, practice scrimmages, you can only do so much. But like when you're in games, you're in tournaments, if you're performing well then, it translates a lot better to the next game than, yeah, I played really well in practice. You know, we've had 3 practices or whatnot. We rested for 2 days. You know, my body's feeling good, but maybe I'm not hot. Maybe you're not necessarily cold coming out of the gate, but you're not on fire. And, you know, you get some of these teams. I mean, you go back to Cardiac Kemba, like that UConn team that they caught fire at the right time and they started hitting shots. They come out the first 2 rounds and they're just lighting things up right now. I mean, that's kind of what you see when you play really well in these conference tournaments. And then from the other aspect, obviously, it's like playing for your life. If you're these lower seeds, the teams that didn't get a bye, you know, you're playing for your life. You know, it's your last games, your last opportunities. You're really playing for it. And, you know, we're seeing teams play better because of it. There's been a lot of upsets in these mid-major conferences. And now there's some bid stealers on the horizon.
Yeah, it's a good time, man. Shall we talk about this Big 12 tournament as a whole here, kind of analyze it a little bit? Obviously, 2 results have already happened. We mentioned Cincinnati beat Oklahoma State, and then Colorado with the upset victory over TCU just a little bit ago. Tell you what, man, that Tad Boyle squad, they're going to fight to the last breath.
Yeah. Dude, they're fighting. Colorado, they always find a way to fight. I mean, to be fair, you look back on their record. Their record wasn't good, but they were close in games. Like, they weren't getting 30-piece night in, night out. Like, I feel like Okie State was sometimes.
This isn't Seton Hall. This isn't
last year's DePaul team.
No.
You know, this is like they lose, but they lose close. You know, they fight against teams. I remember watching Kansas go into their place, and it was like a 2.4-point game for most of it. So,
absolutely. And then, like we mentioned, Arizona State, K-State tonight, followed by UCF, Utah. Those will obviously have happened by the time most of you listen to this podcast. But, yeah, Casey, your Jayhawks here, we kind of talked about it. The path for Kansas to get to the championship is, you know, pretty favorable. You know, if you can win this first one tomorrow, Arizona's on a slide right now. That team they have not been impressive to me at all over the last 2 weeks or so. And then, you know, you likely get Texas Tech there in that semifinal. But, you know, Kansas coming off of a win against Arizona this past weekend at Allen Fieldhouse. Yet another senior night victory for Bill Self.
they haven't lost since 2000 on senior night.
Or
not even that. Sorry, it's 42
isn't it a lot longer?
games.
Yeah.
Self hasn't lost his last regular season game since 2000, I believe it was.
Wow. Yeah, that's insane. You know, chance for them here. I'm curious to see what you think. Like, was Saturday indicative of Kansas maybe turning the corner? Was that part of the whole senior day deal at home? I don't know. I mean, Iowa State, Kansas, Kansas State historically are kind of the 3 teams that really do benefit when it comes to the Big 12 tournament being right there in Kansas City. 3 teams that tend to fare, you know, better than most historically. Kind of a shot here for Kansas to also, in the same breath as Iowa State, also kind of grab some more momentum, some needed momentum before the actual tournament.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, we've talked about this team's up and downs all season, but I definitely agree that, they're, I wouldn't necessarily say getting hot because, it is one game. They got to string a little bit more together, but I think the Arizona game was definitely a bounce back in the right direction. You saw Hunter play well. You saw KJ play well. Dewan didn't turn the ball over as much. You got guys coming off the bench hitting shots. Diggy played good just a couple games ago. So it's not something where, I'm rushing to the casino to put money down on them, but I'm definitely keeping that success in the back of my mind as like things to go off of when you look at this conference. And I would agree. They have a better draw than I think Iowa State has to get further in, but just because, they did just beat Arizona, and then they got to play Arizona again, and maybe they string together another win against a UCF or a Utah team and then push to Arizona, and they still got their number and move on. Now you got to play Texas Tech compared to Iowa State. You got to play BYU, who just beat you, and then you got to play likely Houston, who's the top team in the conference, top defense in the nation. I do think that is a lot more difficult for the Clones to push further into.
Yeah, I think so too. Speaking of BYU, that team I think is an Elite Eight pick for me in my bracket without a doubt. They're playing as good as anybody in the country right now.
Yeah.
Did Richie Saunders win Most Improved Player of the Year in the Big 12?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Very
And I
deserving
think
for that guy.
he was first team, but we got to talk about first team. 10 players
guys.
named to that.
Caleb Love being on it.
Caleb Love was on
serious,
it.
man?
Hunter
When I saw him
was
as the first player listed too, for a second I thought it was like
in order.
Yeah. And then I realized it was alphabetical, but yeah.
No, that was, I don't know why. It's because that's 20 guys between 3 teams. Like, only conference do that. Some guys name like 6.
Because they did do 5 for second and third, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know, man.
That's without a doubt too many. I get maybe doing a couple more with it being a bigger conference, but 10 is far too many. I mean, like, it's a prestigious award to win, and when you've got JT Toppin and Caleb Love on the same first team, I think
There's
that
two
takes
disparities.
a little bit away
JT
from
Toppin
that.
was MVP, and
Yeah.
Caleb Love isn't even the highest rated player for value on his team, according to Ken Palm and Evan Maya.
Yeah, that says a lot. It's all the name there for him too.
Yeah. Well, he's played good, but he's not played great basketball like a lot of these other guys,
Yeah, I feel like he's been pretty underwhelming. But yeah, BYU to me, hot team right now, one of the hottest in the country, likely an Elite Eight pick in my bracket. We have to do this week. Do you still have the running total of conference tournament games you've watched?
I do. I counted
Okay.
it up.
Give us the number here.
It's 35 games. Not as many as I would have liked. But busy weekends with coaching tryouts. That ran from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday, so really didn't. And then Sunday was kind of the cool down day. Knock out some homework, knock out some studying. So I would say, unfortunately, I'm behind the ball on where I would like to be. But we're definitely going to
Plenty
get
of
those
time.
numbers up. Both Big 12 games I did watch. So
What conference did the most games come from? Do you have that total as well?
Yeah, because I've got it by. I think it's got to be the Valley. Yeah. Right now,
Yes, baby.
Valley's got 7 games. Sunbelt close second with 6 games.
Arch Madness, second best conference tournament in the country, right behind that one down there in Kansas City at the T-Mobile Center. I'm still bummed. I get it, corporate buyouts. The Sprint Center just sounded a lot better, rolled off the tongue better.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anything else on the Big 12 tournament, Big 12 as a whole here before we move on?
Man, you look at these teams that got the first round bye, outside of Iowa State, of course, it's West Virginia, it's Baylor, and it's Kansas. And they're 2 teams that have kind of just not performed to really what you would think. Like Kansas as a 6 seed, preseason number 1. Baylor's 7 seed. I believe they were preseason conference number 3. And West Virginia, I think it's just the injury. I think 8 is right where everyone kind of put them, but we saw what they could be when Tucker DeVries was healthy. So I think, in my mind, they're still a team that should be up there for a 2-round bye. But, with the Tucker DeVries injury, everything that happened, Small goes out with an injury as well. I think you look at these second-tier teams, you could almost call them. They're lower on outside Iowa State. I would say they're lower than most people think they would be on bracketology. In this bracket, they are all kind of in need of some sort of push. Say Iowa
Yeah.
State's the only exception because, even though they're a 5, like, what are we slot at, like a 3 line right now?
I think, should be comfortably. As long as you don't lose tomorrow, should be 3, I think.
Yeah. So it's like they don't really need a win out there, which is fine. Obviously, you want to win. You want to go win the conference, try and bump up to a 2 seed. But, you think West Virginia, Baylor, Kansas, teams that they're in but not really comfortably in, or not necessarily where they want to be in at. And so they kind of need to go on runs, contend for this championship just to make it to where they want to be or where they believe they belong.
I feel like it's a very top-heavy conference this year.
Yeah.
There's a pretty clear drop-off there after a little bit. And even, like, I don't know, maybe this could be recency bias. I don't really have too much confidence in Arizona right now. They have not been very impressive to me at all lately. They had a nice run there for a lot of Big 12 play, but I don't know. It feels like, to me, Houston and Texas Tech are kind of the two juggernauts in this league right now. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It should be a fun week. Always is. With that, shall we make some conference tournament picks?
Let's do it.
Let's go. How'd we do last week?
We split.
Okay.
So we both got Illinois right. I got Colorado State and Alabama right. You got St. John's and Miami right. I will say my wins were by a lot more than yours. I think both your wins were by 2 points. Mine were closer to 8, I believe.
Ooh.
So, but a win is a win.
You get half wins for those?
No. A win is a win. You got the win. That's all that matters. We both got Michigan State and Iowa right as well. So on the ones we both picked, we went 3-0.
We were right on the Hawkeyes there. We called that one. I hope you put your money on them.
Nebraska is done for the season. Doesn't even make the Big Ten Conference.
They were
of luck.
on the bubble. They were on the bubble before that game. Technically,
yeah, dude. They were. I mean, what was it? Just 2 weeks ago, they were like a 10 seed or something, and everyone's telling me, hey, they got a chance to upset someone if they get things going. You didn't even make a 13-team conference tournament.
Safe to say 15. They will not be winning their first ever NCAA tournament game
No,
this year.
Hey, good news for you guys. You're going to be the number 1 seed in the new Crown tournament.
The Crown!
Man.
Don't they pay players in that? It's like an NIL tournament almost?
I don't know.
I think it is. I think it's in Vegas.
Nebraska could sure use it.
Sam Hoiberg's going to make – is he still playing for them?
Yeah.
He's going to – he's
going
to
got one more.
Make some nice money in the Crown.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, if they're not first-round exits. They don't know how to win conference – they don't know how to win tournament games, so I wouldn't put anything past them.
I do think it'd be hilarious, too, if Fran McCaffrey and Iowa were to win the Big Ten tournament or even, like, get to the championship and, like, Iowa ends up keeping Fran McCaffrey because of that. That'd be hilarious.
That would be hilarious.
Because he should absolutely be fired. They average
he'll retire mutually, I think.
Yeah. I would think too. He's guaranteed a lot of money though. I don't know if he'd just step away. Maybe they'll construct some sort of a deal. I think it's one of those
things where it's like we don't want to fire you because of your name and everything like that and what you've done for our program, but like we're gonna pay you out. You're gonna say you're gonna retire.
Ask you to step away. Yeah. I think so too. I mean, they averaged. I saw today they averaged like 30% capacity at games this year, which is atrocious. That's so bad. But it'd be hilarious.
Josh Dix has got to enter the portal, dude.
It'd be so funny if they won the Big Ten tournament because then they have to keep him. All right, shall we pick here?
Yeah. Do we just want to start with the Big 12 because that's what we were talking about?
Let's do it. Love this idea.
You want to kick it off?
Sure, I can do it. I'll go right away and say Houston is going to be the team I'm picking this year to win it. I think they might be my national championship pick, to be honest, right now in the tournament, which sounds a little Big 12 bias. I still think that the top 3, Auburn, Duke, Houston, are kind of like that trifecta. There's a couple other teams knocking on the door. But Houston has just been so unbelievably consistent all year long. And the one kind of knock on them this year was like, what are they going to do without Jamal Shed?
Yeah.
Offensively, they obviously have the defenders. Offensively, what happens without him? And LJ Cryer stepped up to the plate, and then Milos Uzan.
He's been good.
He has been so good. One of the more underrated guys I think in the country. He hasn't quite been obviously what Jamal Shed was, but he's been elite offensively. To me, they're complete and they play so. They're one of the toughest teams ever. I think, yeah, I don't know. I think they in a tournament that goes to chalk, I think they would beat Texas Tech in the championship. I think Iowa State gets to the semis but loses to Houston there.
No way.
Obviously we're not. Yeah, obviously we're not analyzing the full tournament, but I do think Kansas gets to semis as well.
Mm-hmm.
Loses to Tech there, so it ends up being a Houston Tech championship. I think Houston wins that one. That's again. Only one pick here, but I got Houston taking it.
Yeah, I mean, in my eyes, I had a pretty similar kind of breakdown. I did go Tech over Houston.
Oh,
because Tech's got their number all season. I don't know what it is. Tech's kind of been the team to be in their ear, and all this invincible, whatever not. Achilles heel, if you will, perfect in every way. But that heel, man, that heel is what's going to get you at the end of the day. And I feel like that's been Texas Tech right now. Really like this Grant McCasland squad. JT Toppin has been outstanding. I mean, Big 12 MVP for a reason. So give me Texas Tech over Houston.
Okay. I love it. I think we can both agree that's probably going to be the championship.
Yeah.
Those two, which would be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be a fun one. Two teams that, they like each other and don't like each other at the same time. Like, it's not a heated rivalry or anything, but they really want to beat each other.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So
I bet both fan bases will travel well too.
Yeah.
For relatively.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's large fan bases as well, well-funded fan bases. I wouldn't be surprised. Let's bounce up to the ACC. Might as well just go in alphabetical order from here.
Sure.
What do you got?
This has been such a weak conference this year. I thought about this one probably longer and harder than any others, interestingly. And I actually settled on picking Louisville to win it here.
Yeah?
I initially put Duke down right away, but then I took a look at the bracket, thought about it longer and harder. Duke and Louisville have only played each other once this year, and that was back in December when Louisville wasn't playing very good. They've been rock solid. Granted, the ACC is pretty terrible this year. I mean, it is very. You've got Duke, you've got Louisville right there, and then Clemson, Wake Forest. Clemson's been fine. I just don't. That conference has not been great. But I think Duke is in a spot here where they haven't been challenged at all, and I think Louisville will challenge them in the ACC championship. I'm going to take the Cardinals here, pretty reluctantly, but I was kind of in a spot where it was mostly one seeds for me, and that never happened. So the 2 seed Louisville, Pat Kelsey winning ACC Coach of the Year. I'm going to go with the Cards.
Yeah, I mean, we have the same finals so far, but opposite answers. I'm going to go Duke. I'm going to go with the most talented team. I'm going to take my gut and say if they are to lose, it's not in this situation. I had this discussion with one of our good friends, Jack Kumagai, earlier today.
Shout out.
Yeah, he was like, I just don't know how Duke's going to lose at all. And I said, well, this squad reminds me a lot of that Zion Williamson squad from a couple years back. And you think of that team was invincible, all this talent, whatnot, all these freshmen that are gone after the next year. But, you think about it, they're going to win their conference. They're going to be a favorite to win it all. But that team got held by Taco Fall and almost lost to a UCF team that year. I mean, that's March for you. That's the team that's projected to win everything or the favorites and all that. It usually doesn't happen. We usually don't have chalk. So conference tournaments are a little bit different, though. I think Duke wins it this year. I think Shire goes out and wins it. I mean, you have the two best coaches in the conference going at it head-to-head. Louisville coach wins Coach of the Year. Shire's the runner-up right there. So two best coaches, probably the best game the ACC can produce. I think the ACC wants it to happen for media reasons because they know if it's not those two teams, a lot of people aren't really interested in watching it right now.
Yeah, unless it ends up being Duke and Carolina. What if NC State runs the table again? That'd be
With no coach?
unbelievable. Did they bring an interim guy
I don't
up?
know. Like,
That's
he's-
great. Could you
Keats is
imagine
gone.
going to the Final Four and the next year you get fired? And it's not. It's one thing if you're at like a blue blood program, like that could be kind of conceivable.
Like North
Kinda-
Carolina?
yeah.
Like we're waiting on their coach to get fired?
Right. Yeah, Hubert. And I kind of think it too of like Ed Orgeron. This is football, but Ed Orgeron at LSU after that national championship, and then they were pretty mid. But like at NC State too, I get it. They've been atrocious, but yeah, that's an insane roller coaster of 12 months there. What do we got next year? Big East, is that right?
Yeah, Big East.
Okay. I will be taking Seton Hall. Go Pirates. Ken Palm of 206. Adjusted offensive rating is 310, but listen, lockdown defense.
That's
Casey, at
slightly
80
above
at
Delaware.
89, slightly above. Hey, 89 adjusted defense. They lock
Ooh.
it down, man.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I'm going St. John's here and Rick Pitino. I think Rick Pitino is out for a vengeance right now, just kind of against everybody, you know.
Especially the NCAA.
Yes. Yeah. He is not going to let his foot off the gas pedal at all. Kind of another conference that's a little bit down this year relative to most years. I didn't even realize Creighton was the 2 seed.
Yeah.
Wow. How about that? But I'll be taking the as John Rothstein calls him, the Godfather, Rick Pitino here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Godfather in white as well. I feel like he's gonna wear his all white suit for the game. But yeah, I have St. John's winning over UConn. I actually have UConn upsetting Creighton right before in that 2-3 seed game, just because I feel like Creighton this isn't the year to get into the finals for them. I would love to be proven wrong. I think they do have a chance to win it, but I think against that UConn's got, my goodness, dude.
Happens.
UConn squad. They don't have it this year, and I think the best coach in the gosh darn sport gets it done and finishes second place in his own conference.
That was good.
My take.
That was good. You know how excited he'll be though if he beats Creighton again. He loves
He
just
owns
beating
them.
Creighton. He loves to show off the rings as well to Creighton fans.
After losing as the 1 seed down there last year. Might I add.
Good
But
point.
who remembers 1 year ago? Am I right? You beat him this
You are
year.
right.
Congratulations.
You are right. Big Ten here.
Yeah.
Again, going back to another Rothstein reference. January, February, and we are currently in Izzo, also known as March. That's all that needs to be said. I think the Big Ten is probably the most. It's either the Big Ten or the SEC, the two most open conference tournaments.
Yeah, I would agree.
I didn't really know what to do here. I just didn't feel like anybody else in this Big Ten tournament is really playing like their best ball right now. I feel like Michigan State is the only team that's really like playing at the top of their game. Let's see, because what you've got Michigan is the 2 seed, 3 seed.
Michigan's the 2. Maryland's the 3, or Maryland's the 3.
Let's take a look here.
2. It's Maryland and Michigan, I believe.
You're right.
second and
Yes.
third.
Yep. Good point. So Maryland 2, Michigan. I
Yeah.
suppose Maryland's playing good basketball right now,
The
but
Crab 5,
yes,
as they were nicknamed.
Crab 5. I'll take Michigan State here though. Tom Izzo in March. That guy is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, they find ways to get it done any chance they can, and I'm going to follow you on this one. I do think this is going to be one of the more entertaining tournaments, not because they're good at basketball, but because it is so open, like you said. I really like this Maryland team. Wanted to go with them. You can't go against Izzo in March, though. There's a reason it's nicknamed Izzo. I mean, the guy's fantastic. I think, in my eyes, that's going to be one of the more fun conference tournaments to watch. I think it's going to be a lot more open because you think about Texas Tech, Houston, and St. John's, UConn are more defensive games. Duke, Louisville is ACC basketball. You know, the SEC tournament, that'll be fun. that'll be up there, but I think that'll be so high paced. And like, no matter who it is, I think there's going to be a little disparity in the score. I think Michigan State Maryland's going to be one of the more fun games to watch. It's going to be decently high scoring, but not crazy, but also one of the more competitive tournaments.
Without a doubt. And then to wrap it up here, SEC.
The Southern Eastern Conference.
Yes, this is true. I'm going. This is an interesting one here, but I am going with Florida. I'm taking the Gators, and I see you smirking over there.
Yeah,
I'm curious, but another team, one of the hottest in the country right now. They're playing really, really good ball. I wasn't very impressed with Auburn this past weekend against Alabama. Granted, you had one of your best performances of the year from the Crimson Tide in that game, and that's an elite team. So Alabama's not a team I have a ton of confidence in, though, overall, because they are one of those teams that is elite offensively, but defensive-wise, their metrics are not as good as some of the other, top-tier teams in the country, and that tends to be kind of a red flag when it comes to conference tournaments and the NCAA tournament. So I'm not taking them, not taking Auburn because I'm just a little bit, unsure of what to think about them right now. So that's kind of what made me settle with Florida. Walter Clayton Jr. has been really, really good lately. Part of the first team all SEC. Gator Chomp.
Caleb, I'm following with you as well on
Bang.
this one.
Ball knowers.
We are dialed right now. We only 2 conferences. We didn't pick the exact same, and we had the same final, just opposite picks.
How about that?
So I went Florida over Auburn as well. I think it's biased because I don't really like this Auburn team. Not a huge fan of Bruce Pearl. I can't deny that they're good. I can't deny that they deserve to be a number 1 seed and that they deserve to be one of the top 2 teams in their conference. But sometimes you want to see a team fall. And I think this Florida team's on fire right now. They got a lot of things going in the right way. They score the ball well. They share the ball well. They play solid defense as well, which is hard to come by in the SEC. But I think that Florida gets it done over Auburn as well. I was smirking a little bit because great minds continue to think alike.
They sure do. Number 3 offensive rating on Ken Pom, 10 defensive rating. That's good. That's really good. That's a winning formula.
If you can do that, you have a chance to win. That's for sure. And I believe they're in the trapezoid of excellence.
That's another big part of it.
Hit on that next week.
Yep. Is that a Ryan Hammer thing or is that somebody else's deal?
Ryan Hammer really covers it, but I think it's someone else's graph. But
sure.
He really sticks by it, really covers it, kind of made it more mainstream. Love Ryan Hammer.
Awesome guy, elite guy. Go follow Ryan Hammer on Twitter if you're not.
If you haven't watched any basketball and you want in-depth, not necessarily in-depth stuff, but you kind of want to know some ins and outs on how to help your bracket, go check out some Ryan Hammer Twitter or TikTok.
I was going to say, he'll help you with your bracket without a doubt. I mean, a lot of insights.
All the trends and which teams out of 10 follow the criteria to win a national championship or to be in the national championship based on certain things. All consistent since 2000.
Just consumes college basketball data.
Oh, yeah.
Eats it for breakfast. Shall we hit on the 3 for 3 here?
I will. We will, if you will.
We will collective.
If you will. All right, starting with my not 3 for 3. Give me Simone Benoit of the Toronto Maple Leafs going for a Superman punch in a fight in a hockey game. Didn't quite land correctly. Ultimately, kind of got his ass kicked in the fight, got taken down, and then rolled over and was on top of the guy and tried to lift him back up and keep the fight going. But it's one of the funniest sports photos I've ever seen, but it didn't turn out well. The cogs were definitely turning, but it's a hockey player. They were frozen over. They were chipped up. The cogs didn't fully work there.
Nice. Let's go. My number 3, we've already talked about this team so much over the last few weeks, I feel like, but I'm giving it to Drake and Ben McCollum.
Yeah.
First,
it's a good one to go with.
30-win team in college basketball this year. Ben McCollum, who comes from Northwest Missouri State down in the D2 country in, I think it's Maryville, Missouri, something like that.
Sounds right.
Yep. He has not won a regular season conference championship since 2013 or 14, I think. It's like 11 or 12 years running. That's insane. That's one of the more impressive statistics you'll ever find.
He's got to be one of the favorites for the Indiana job. Right?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
I feel like you call him, you call Beard, you call McCasland. McCasland, I don't think picks up because he's like his whole family's West Texas.
And Texas Tech too. They got so much money down there. I feel like that's a good job right now.
Yeah,
that's a really good job to have.
And you don't have to rebuild anything down there. I mean, top 10 team right now.
Right.
Two in the number 2 conference.
Yeah.
That on most years is the number 1 conference. You know?
What if, similarly to the Iowa conversation, what if after firing Mike Woodson, but he's still coaching, Indiana ends up like winning the Big Ten tournament or like making a deep run in March? What if they go to like the Elite Eight?
You see, I was watching it, man. He was tearing up at the end of that game. They won too on senior night, their last home game. He was very emotional. I mean, you know why?
Right,
an Indiana guy his whole life. Like that's kind of his dream right there, and to get fired, but he still goes out kind of on top, and you feel slighted by the team. They've been dealing with so many injuries. I mean, you hate to see it for the guy, but you ask questions, you still get rid of him. You got to stick with your word, I think, in my opinion. And he goes and coaches some mid-major if he wants to go do that. And if not, he retires.
Yeah, I think so too. It's just that's the danger of firing a guy midway through the season but letting him finish it out because now they're basically in the tournament.
Conference play.
Yeah. And it's not like they've played like that much better since then, but they have kind of turned a corner. Like they are playing. They had that. They killed Purdue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Beat Michigan State, I think, as well.
Yeah. All right, we will send it over to my number 3. The Minnesota High School Hockey State Championship.
Big hockey day.
East Grand Forks had a losing regular season, finds a way to pull it out, wins the state tournament in overtime. And just an insane story, an insane way to wrap it up. The celebrations were absolutely crazy. I mean, the puck was in like the back corner, and the guy just kind of flicked it. I don't even think it was a shot. I think he was trying to center it for a teammate, and it like hit the goalie's pad and went in behind him.
He accidentally won the state championship.
That's what it looked like. I mean, he was down in the corner behind the net, and he flung one towards the middle, and I mean, it found a way to go in. So, congratulations to East Grand Forks.
That's really impressive. That's the stuff you see in a movie. Make a movie about that. My number 2. Did you happen to see Grant Nelson? He put somebody on a poster against Auburn and then hit the War Eagle on Janai Broom afterwards. Did you see that celebration?
I did not.
Oh, I've got it.
Too busy locked into non-conference games.
Grant Nelson literally forward for Alabama just baptizes this guy at the basket.
That is hilarious.
It wasn't Janai Broom who he dunked on, but afterwards he looks at
Janai Broom was right in his face.
He looks at Broom because he's right in his face and hits the War Eagle. Casey's doing it there.
Yeah, hold on. If it switches back. Yeah,
Dang,
it's like
that
the
was
Karate
really
Kid kick.
That was really good.
That's what he hit him. I didn't even know that was the War Eagle. In my eyes, that's just the Karate Kid kick.
I think maybe it's like more of a T. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. It's good. That's my number 2. Great celebration.
You mean your number 3?
I think that was my number 2 there because Drake was my number 3.
Oh, Drake was your number 3.
So you got number 1 here, right?
I want my number 2. Did you do a knot?
Okay. No, I did not do my knot yet. You already did your knot. That makes sense. Unbelievable. Yeah, my knot has not occurred yet.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we'll just keep on going with this here.
Yeah.
And I'll do my knot afterwards.
I'll jump to my number 2.
Okay.
Delaware Fighting Hens.
Yes.
The Blue Hens enter the CAA tournament, losing 11 of their last 12, 12-19, and 260th on Ken Palm. And I think in an hour are playing for an automatic qualifier spot in March Madness.
Bang.
That's stuff of legends, the stuff of March. That's all it is. It's just college basketball.
One of the all-time great nicknames, too, the Blue Hens. Love it.
Fighting Blue Hens.
That's great.
Love it.
That's why we watch the sport, man. You never know. Any given day in college basketball. So my number 1 is just mid-major conference tournaments. Nothing more needs to be said. They're just great. If you're not watching them, go do yourself a favor and watch them.
Yeah. Missed out on a lot of the good ones, unfortunately, but still tickets to be punched. tonight, tomorrow, and cheer for the mid-majors and the tournaments. They're going to win you some bracket games. I can guarantee you that.
Absolutely.
My number one, Caleb. With all the basketball stuff going on, we dropped down to D3 basketball.
Of course we do.
A little bit of story with this one. John Jay, Division III basketball, loses their conference semifinals to Lehman College. This is like the Conference of Upstate New York or something like that, if I remember. Turns out Lehman had an ineligible player. He was kicked out of school just to fill a few days prior. Still decided to play, making himself and the entire team ineligible for the conference tournament. Conference decides that John Jay deserves to advance to the finals because they were the team that lost to Lehman, even though Lehman had an ineligible player, where they would play Baruch College and win 80-70, locking them into the Division III tournament. They would ultimately end their season losing in the first round to Christopher Newport University, 101-75. But imagine losing your conference semifinals, winning the conference finals, and still making it into the national tournament.
Again, this is March.
It
doesn't matter what level it is. This is March.
This is why we play the games, or I guess why we don't play them.
Can't believe you said Christopher Martin.
Christopher Newport University.
Christopher Newport beat John Jay. Unbelievable.
Beat John Jay.
Let the story keep on going, fellas. All right, so I guess I missed my not 3 for 3. My not 3 for 3. 5 years ago today is basically when like the entire world started shutting down. It began with Rudy Gobert getting diagnosed with COVID in the Thunder and Suns game.
Yep.
And
Thunder
they shut that down.
Jazz.
Jazz,
He's with
sorry.
the Jazz.
Yep. They shut that game down, then suspended the season like an hour later.
Big
And
East
then-
was in tournament play.
What's up?
Big East was in tournament
I think
play.
I remember watching Iowa State play against Oklahoma State in the Big 12 tournament as well that night. It was like, because that then began the domino effect, and everything just started shutting down like that night, the next day. The next day, you and I were at baseball practice at Elkhorn High. We got sent home.
The season got shut down then and there.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, wasn't it still like it's a 2-week spring break?
Yeah.
We'll see you back here almost. But we had no idea. Yeah.
We enjoyed the time off, though, and the great weather.
Yes, we did. Yeah. But that's my not 3 for 3 because that was just
As
like
it should be.
a wild, bad time
Did
in
you see
sports.
the interaction where it was one of the mid-majors posted, like, who won their conference tournaments each year, and then they had COVID-19 winning a year. And the comments were all like, I hope COVID-19 doesn't win this year.
Be COVID 25 this year.
Yeah.
Alrighty, anything else here?
Nah, that's all. Let's go enjoy some basketball, and
Let's do it.
we're going to have a busy one next week.
More to be watched. Yes, next week is going to be action-packed, maybe our busiest one of the year.
Mhm.
Oh,
Won't be in person.
no, you're right. Oh, we got to figure that
We'll
out.
figure that out.
We got to make a 2025 rundown with Caleb and Casey tourney challenge.
We do. Get that
And
set
get
up.
Trevor Perkins back in to run it back.
Yeah. Running back T Perk.
If you're listening,
We miss you. Hope you're doing well.
yes.
Good luck this year.
If anybody listening wants to join this league, seriously, follow us on Twitter at @the_rundown_pod. We'll get that posted here soon. If you just don't get on Twitter, hopefully we can
You can
share
reach out to one of us.
we can share the details about it because I'm sure we'll probably hopefully podcast before games start next week. That'd be the
Yeah.
plan. And yeah, maybe a new winner this year.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Maybe an in-state winner.
We'll see. Maybe. Yep.
Hopefully not. Hopefully we've reached a growing audience and we continue to have out-of-state winners.
Yeah. Maybe like within the Midwest this time around.
You never know.
We'll see. He's Casey Schiesler. My name's Caleb Polking. Thank you all for tuning in. And it's March.